Espresso. Radio Espresso.
Dragi slušatelji UNIDU radija i dragi gledatelji UNIDU televizije, dobar vam dan i dobrodošli u još jedan Radio Espresso. S vama su danas tonski realizator Alen Roki i urednik Mislav Čimić. Danas imamo jednog stranog gosta, riječ je o američkom profesoru sa DePaul Universityja u Chicagu, njegovo ime je Richard Farkas, već smo ga imali priliku poznati na frekvencijama našeg radija i na našoj televiziji i evo drago mi je da imamo još jednu priliku razgovarati s njim. Professor Farkas, welcome once again.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So we already talked about a global learning experience, about democracy between our two universities, and we can say that now the first chapter is finished. Are you satisfied?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, encouraged. I think what it's proven to us is that the basic idea is sound, and now we have to be as creative and inventive as we can be to make it grow into something even more significant.
What would you like to happen next?
Well, I'd like to maintain the dialogue that we've had and expand the number of Dubrovnik students that are engaged with us. But beyond that, I think there are some really important things we can try to do. And with a collaboration between the technical people and folks here that understand the nature of the system, I think we might be able to produce something that has a lasting effect in Croatia and in Croatian society, Croatian politics. And as you know, we're going to try to enlist everybody to contribute to the idea, so it takes shape, not something external, but something that grows out of the need right here.
Is it hard to motivate students on your side?
Well, initially it is a little bit, because I think there are an awful lot of American students that don't understand just how robust and interesting ideas can be from abroad. And one of the things that's happened over these two iterations of our dialogue is that students have both been interested by the differences, but overwhelmingly impressed by the similarities and the way in which your generation tends to think in ways that are paralleled by the American students' own thinking.
What is, in your opinion, the most valuable and important thing that the students got out of this experience on both sides, of course?
Yeah, well, to identify the most important thing is kind of difficult. I think that of the dozen or so students involved on our side, it probably differs from student to student. But I think the primary takeaway is that young people share challenges and visions of politics that really need to be addressed. There are things that young people see in the political system that older people, middle-aged people, and veteran citizens don't see. And I think since they're the future, we need to respond to that.
There are obviously differences between our two educational systems, but it didn't prove to be a difficulty in this collaboration.
Well, I think that's true, but I think that the Dubrovnik students are primarily responsible for how well it went. Actually, our students can be a little bit naive about the nature of the world beyond them, and of course that's the reason for creating the global learning experience for them. But I know that the university is hopeful that it germinates into something much larger, an opportunity to regularly visit one another, an opportunity to perhaps do some common research, to create some real product that can have a lasting impact. And the fact that you folks at this end study culture, communications, and politics in an interdisciplinary way makes it really very interesting, and I think gives you the advantage in contributing to these things.
We've talked already a bit about civic education. What can be done in Croatia? What do you think?
Yeah, well, I think.
What do you recommend? Yeah, that's maybe the better question.
Well, I'm anxious not to frame something without the input from from you all. But I do think that there's an opportunity here. Croatia's not a huge country. It's a country that's very, very committed to the democratic direction, and yet we know that there's not a lot of civic education in the schools. I think we can put together some expertise in game design, in pedagogy, in political science and communications, and actually produce a package that could in genuine terms, in real life terms, be used in schools here in Croatia. And I think we can do that with minimum resources. The key resource that we need from both sides is energy.
When talking about civic education or something similar to it at least, what's the situation like in America?
Well, very uneven. We have a remarkably decentralized political system. So every single locale, every single town or village or part of a city runs its own school district. So there's very little way to give a uniform answer to that question. I do think that it's inadequate. I think that what happens is that teachers deal with it in such a simplistic way and in such a routine way that the students don't become interested. Normally, what we call civic education in the U.S. takes place around the 7th or 8th year in school. That's a pretty transitional time, and it may not be the optimal time for students to actually learn about things that can be complicated. So I think if we can make a game out of it, if we can make it something that young people are already interested in doing and have a little bit of fun in the process, we'll be able to reach them.
When talking about education, how important is education, or how much can the role of education be important when it comes to preventing terrorism, which is maybe the biggest global problem now, especially regarding Brussels? Yeah, well, I think that people who engage in those kinds of activities feel lost and feel disconnected. I know that's a relatively simple and brief answer to your question, but I think an educational system can illustrate for young people, children and young adults, that there are ways to become connected to the political system, ways to change the system internally, ways to change the system in a nonviolent way. And I think that's all you can do. You can make some progress with the vast bulk of young people who then believe more genuinely in the system, aren't quite so frustrated or alienated, and I think that will ultimately, although it'll be hard to prove the relationship, but will ultimately make a difference. And having an American guest is also another chance to ask the maybe question that is most asked in America nowadays. Your elections are coming up. Are you optimistic?
Yeah, I fear not. I think something has happened. I've been teaching at the university in political science for more than 40 years. I have never seen an election that lacks civility and decency as much as the current one. The problem with Donald Trump, to be quite honest, is that he's expressing intolerant things. And he seems to be appealing to the most simple, the least sophisticated, the least educated people. And that worries me. I think it's a bit dangerous. I think the world is a constantly evolving, more complex place. And what we need is a steady hand, a reliable vision, and most of all, a person who can lead America that knows what he or she doesn't know.
I hope one of your students may, in the future, be the steady hand everybody needs.
Well, our students become a kind of a backbone of the system. They seldom aspire to the very top leadership positions. I'd like to say, only half joking, that our students in political science, at least, are too knowledgeable to actually want to run for political office.
Well, anyways, thank you for coming to our radio station again, and I hope there maybe will be another chance we'll talk.
For sure, Mislav. Let me apologize for not being able to have this interview in Hrvatska. But,
no, that's not a problem. No problem.
All right.
Dragi slušatelji, dragi gledatelji, bio je to profesor sa DePaul sveučilišta u Chicagu, Richard Farkas, naš gost u današnjem Radio Espressu. S vama su bili tonski realizator Alen Roki i urednik Mislav Čimić. Budite i dalje uz nas.
Espresso.